Hey guys, it's me, Mark the Landlocked Surfer. If you follow my channel, you know I've worked with a lot of strange looking trucks. But when I first set sight on these Avenue suspension trucks, I thought this is something really different from anything I've seen before. So these are not surf skate trucks, they're like regular skateboarding trucks that are a little bit lower, but they have this metal suspension arm, which does give them a lot of lean. And I was thinking to myself that, for people who are maybe starting as surf skaters and looking to get into regular skateboarding, something like this that has a lot of lean, that softens bumps over rough ground, might be a perfect kind of transition truck to go from surf skating to regular skateboarding. So that's kind of the basis that I thought I would want to test these out and see how they perform. If you're new to my channel or aren't familiar with surf skating is a type of skateboarding that uses really specific trucks that have a different front and back that's supposed to replicate the feeling of a surfboard, where you have that loose front end and kind of a tighter back end. So the back end acts sort of like the fins and the front is a little bit more loose and flowy. So surf skating is a lot more about flow and style. It's less about doing tricks, flip tricks, things like that. It's more about flowing on the board, big slides, lots of carves. So it's very different as a background that I have. But I did start as a skateboarder and I'm starting to get back into regular skateboarding.
Alright guys, so why am I doing this review and what value is it going to add? Yeah, I'm kind of a nobody, and the thing is, I think most of the people who are going to be looking into buying skateboard equipment are kind of like me. We're not Jason Park, we're not Ben DeGrosse, we're not at that high caliber skill level where we were maybe sponsored before. And I think there's value in having a review done by someone like me, an early 40s guy who's just kind of a mediocre skater, to see, do the Avenue trucks actually deliver to the likes of the ordinary person to help improve your skills and deliver on some of the things that they say that they can help improve you with. So for me, as somebody who has been surf skating a lot and is just trying to get back into doing regular skateboarding, I think there would be value in looking at the Avenue trucks from that different perspective, offering a little bit of a different take on some of the better skateboarders who have already reviewed this. So with that, let's get into it.
So let's start the review by going through some of the claims that Avenue makes about their trucks. And the first one is that they are faster, and primarily the reason they give is from vibration absorption. So these trucks, I don't know that a truck really can make a big difference in your speed, but if they do absorb vibrations, that is one way that can do it. The other thing is these trucks are pumpable, so not quite like a surf skate truck. It's interesting, I find that you can lean on these trucks a lot, but they don't turn quite as much as a surf skate truck. So there's a lot of lean, but less of a sharp radius turn. So you can pump them to keep momentum like you could with an ace truck or a surf skate truck. But when it comes to the claim that they're faster because of the vibration absorption, you definitely did notice that when going over rough terrain or cracks. Like in this indoor spot, there's some rough, that like chevron style grate on the floor. And I found that I could go right over this when preparing for a line, which you wouldn't be able to do on probably regular independent trucks and that. So I think there is some validity to the claim if you're in rough terrain. If you're on smooth terrain, I don't think it really makes a big difference in your addition to speed. But if you're someone who sometimes likes to ride in rough spots, then these trucks could make a difference and help you keep your speed. Now, for all of my fellow surf skaters out there, you might have experienced this where you try to get on a regular skateboard, and because there's so little lean, you find yourself falling a lot or trying to turn and then finding the board doesn't move with you. So I found that lean was really nice to have. So it felt like a skateboard, it does not feel like a surf skate, but just having that extra lean gave me a little bit more ability to make corrections that I wouldn't be able to on tighter tracks. So this first part, in terms of being able to navigate rougher ground and being able to lean more like a surf skate can, kind of gives some credibility to my theory that these might be a good truck for people coming from a surf skate background looking to get into regular skateboarding for the first time. Let's move on to the next major claim by the Avenue trucks, and that is that they can give you increased pop. And that is on the basis of the spring mechanism, which can act as a little kind of spring boost. So I first started testing this out in the basement on flat ground, and I instantly felt that springiness. I was able to just launch myself. You can see here in motion, once we finally got the snow cleared, I was able to get to the skate park. And yeah, I instantly was able to feel, it's almost like riding on a snowboard, how you can get a pop from the tail of your ollie, you build up the tension and you use that to spring up. You can kind of use that to apply that to your launch. And then you get the pop from the wood as well, and it just gives you a little extra boost. So I'm not good at huge ollies or anything at my age and caliber of skating, but this definitely gave a boost. Now I found, especially when you got the board kind of on edge scooping for things like tray flips and shove-its, that it really wanted to leap off of the ground. So something about putting pressure on the edge, like not directly down, and I definitely felt the springiness happening there. It actually took a little bit of practice trying to kind of harness this, because it was popping higher than I could actually manage from what I'm used to when doing front side shove-its like this. So after a lot of playing around and practicing, I finally started to figure it out. And I think spending more time on this, I could actually use it to my benefit to get really high tricks. I just haven't had enough time riding it before the snow hit to be able to do that yet. So I went through some of the tricks that I can do on the Avenue trucks, and I found I was able to do most of what I can do without any problems. One thing that I noticed is that if you don't land perfectly balanced, that it can be easy to wheel bite because there's so much lean. But I actually think this is a good thing, because it sort of teaches you good habits about trying to land in the right spot, not off balance, so that you can get better at landing centered over your board when you do things. Now keep in mind, as a surf skater, I don't do a lot of flip tricks, so don't be underwhelmed by how unimpressive these look. But I will say that it was on the Avenue trucks that I landed my first ever tray flip. I've literally tried like 10,000 of these over the last 3 years, and it finally happened on the Avenue trucks. Is it because of the Avenue trucks? I can't say that for sure, but they're definitely going to hold a special place in my heart because of this. Alright, so the next claim is that the Avenue trucks can help you skate harder, because it's going to mean less wear on your body and less wear on your board because of the suspension effect of the trucks. And I think theoretically there can be some truth to that. The thing is, I do feel like some other reviewers have mentioned this, that the bulk of the damage you're doing to your body or your board is when you don't get your trick. So for the 20 tries that you miss and you don't land on your board, those are the ones that are going to add up to the overall impact. However, if you do have a trick on lock and you're trying something a lot of times, I'm not going to be jumping down any 10 stairs like I used to do in my youth for this video, so I don't have a lot of footage to show you the effects that this could have. But I do think theoretically, you know, it could help absorb, it could make your board last a little longer because you're not putting as much impact, you're getting that suspension effect. But when you're trying something big and gnarly, I think a lot of the damage you do to your body is going to be from the misses and the attempts leading up to the make. So whether that would have a huge effect or not, I think it might be a little bit overblown, but it's not to say that it doesn't do anything. I do expect you would get some extra life out of your deck before you start getting stress cracks with these trucks. You can see no stress cracks whatsoever, which is pretty rare for me. I'm not a light guy. So there could be some validity to the fact that the Avenue suspension trucks are actually helping to keep my deck preserved and avoid those pressure cracks from showing up. Next thing I want to talk about is grinds and slides. Now I'm usually a slappy guy, so I had to relearn how to ollie into grinds, but the magnesium trucks slide really nicely. One thing that I noticed, as I mentioned before, is that these can be prone to wheel bite, so you do have to learn to get your weight really well balanced when you're coming out. This happened 3 times in a row in one segment where I came out too heel heavy and I also want to point out that the Avenue trucks with that spring gave me more confidence in learning how to ollie onto things that are higher than a curb, which is most of my grinding these days. So I didn't quite get it, but just having the confidence to be able to try it was a huge step for me. And it's definitely the Avenue trucks that contributed to having that confidence that I could get up on that higher ledge and not hang up or have problems getting there. While talking about grinds, I thought it would be important to show you the kingpin clearance. You can see here with 50-50 grinds or 5-0 grinds or nose grinds, there's lots of clearance. I think the only place you might run into problems is if trying to do a Smith grind or something. I am not at that level where I'm doing Smith grinds, but for most grinds, you're going to be okay with the kingpins as is. Talking about slides, I know that some people have mentioned some issues with the hanger kind of being sticky, but I definitely did not find this. I found that for nose slides, tail slides, it worked perfectly fine. So final conclusions, what does it do well? What does it not do well? To me, the biggest thing from somebody who's a surf skater, who's just a mediocre skateboarder, the improvement to being able to get higher with my pop, that was the biggest thing. Having that increased my confidence. It let me do some tricks higher than I could do on a regular truck. So I think that is a big benefit, and it gives you confidence to be able to try new things. Also, being able to roll over rough ground, that was nice. Coming from the surf skate background, having the really deep lean, it meant that whereas normally I would kind of bottom out on a regular skateboard, I was able to keep leaning and ride away from things that I wouldn't have on maybe independent trucks or thunder trucks. So I think that was really nice from a surf skater's perspective. As for the cons, I think one of the things that stood out to me is that even though these lean a lot, the turn is very different from a surf skate truck. I actually find the Ace trucks to be a little bit more flowy, a little more similar to a surf skate. So these lean a lot, which is helpful, but the turn radius is a little bit different. While I think that the spring that helps assist your pop can be a positive in terms of advancing faster, I also wonder if it could be a disadvantage if, the thing with small companies like Avenue Trucks is if they were to go out of business and all of a sudden you couldn't get these trucks anymore, you would have to relearn how to do your tricks on standard trucks that don't have that spring assistance. I don't think that's a huge deal. I had to kind of calibrate the way I did tricks when I was learning on the Avenue Trucks from standard trucks. So it would kind of just be doing that process in reverse. So at the end of the day, I definitely think there is a place for trucks like this, especially for people like me. If you are struggling to try and get more height to your ollies, if you have fear of ollieing onto ledges or rails, I think these trucks are kind of the perfect solution. Whether or not you continue to choose to use these trucks long term as the trucks you'll ride for the next 10, 15 years, it's up to you, but I do think that it can be a springboard, pun intended, to help get you on the path to feeling more comfortable with ollieing onto bigger things and building your skills to the point where you can try things that you might not have tried as soon in your progress and development on other truck systems. All right, guys, that's about it for now. Hope you've enjoyed seeing some mediocre skating so you can get an idea of what these trucks can do for you. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer.